Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is December 12th, 2022, and today is Monday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, oil breaks lower to the lower $70 range. Now looking at the major economic events of today, nothing big scheduled for today, but tomorrow and the next day, we've got major news coming out with CPI and FOMC coming out, so you do want to know about it. Now, looking at the various markets going into these numbers, the euro and the major pairs are steady on resistance-ish level. Looking at these indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ sold off after consumer confidence numbers come out last Friday. And looking at commodities, gold on resistance while oil breaks lower. And looking at stocks, Intel crosses over on the downside, and ALOCA has a gap down. This may be some indication as to which way the markets are going past December and going into January. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin unchanged for the week. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. We're starting out with the Euro USD, and you can see clearly, quite clearly, up on top, it's a double top right now, and it's making this like wedgish formation. Let's clean that up a little bit and make it a little bit nicer so you can see that a bit clearer. There we go. That's one, and that's two. That's a wedge formation, okay? Now, usually a wedge formation in these type of ascending triangles, okay, it's usually to the upside. So just be aware that there may be a pop-out. Now, this is a major area because this was previous resistance in several areas before. So technically speaking, this is a breakout area for the Euro USD. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. And you do want to know and kind of expect it before. Now looking at the GBP USD, we are at the top of the range here as we're just challenged, okay, trying to make it higher, okay? It's at the top of the range. This is a very classic going into a major number, CPI and FOMC in the next couple of days, with being on a major threshold. And that is what is happening. Now, looking at the Australian dollar, also at the top of that range as well. And lastly, looking at the Japanese yen, it did bounce a little bit over the past couple of weeks, but still it's flatlining at this 136, which is support-ish area on the downside. So you want to be very aware of this, because if it does break higher, and look, it's breaking above that 8-day moving average, okay? So it does break higher, we could see it go back to the 140-ish level, and that would mean the Dow Jones would be going downwards, okay? So keep an eye on this. In just a second, we're going to jump into the Dow Jones, but first looking at commodities, looking at gold, trading at that resistance-ish level. Nothing major, but just be aware of it, because gold has been very choppy and also very difficult to trade, and it's also making that ascending formation. Let's take let's draw it so you can see it a little bit clearer. That's the ascending. There you go. That's the ascending triangle that I'm looking at. The same thing as the euro, and if it does pop, it'll pop out to 1900-ish level if it does take it off. Okay, that's really the next resistance-ish level, 1880-ish level, even between 1880 and 1900. So keep that in mind. Now looking at the major components, before we do, let's look at crude oil, because this was a major flop last week. Broke that $73-ish, $73.50 right there. It broke this area with some gusto, with some volume, which means it's going to go even lower. Now, it hasn't breached $70, okay? When it does breach $70, that's a major area to breach. So keep that in mind. If we look at a daily, that's major. That's really a big move for it to break. 75.05 is really a very big area. Now, if we look at a weekly, just to give us perspective, the next real downside, somewhere in 67-ish level. So keep that in mind if we do breach that $70 range, $70 number. Okay, that round number is a very important number to breach. Now, jumping into stocks, ALOCA gapping down and selling off. Okay, this is a major move for ALOCA, and then ending on its lows, which is kind of, worrisome, because ALOCA is a major company, which is an aluminum company. And if you think about it, major kind of purchases like cars, like washing machines, like refrigerators, all these type of big bulky items is what this company services. And if it's losing track, okay, that means that 6 months from now, they're expecting less purchases. So that means the Fed's interest rate decisions that have, kind of curtailed and controlled the market is having an effect on this stock tremendously. Okay, now if we look at Facebook also, it is trading lower. But the other one to really make note of is Intel. Intel breaking that 8-day moving average. And the last time we broke that 8-day moving average on the downside, we continued selling off from $38 down to $25-ish, $24-ish dollars. So we're at $28. If it does continue selling off, we could see ourselves in the teens, high teens, $17 range, okay, if it continues selling off. Now, this is really a major area for it to break because, historically speaking, this was a supportish area, okay? If we look at that previous support, you can see that a little bit clearer here. In 2007, it was resistance. 2012, it was resistance. And then we had that breakout and subsequent support right there, 2015. So this is really a major area for it to breach. And if it sells and closes below, that means we're going further down. So keep that in mind as we're looking at Intel here. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish everybody a great trading day. Thank you.